like to start my interviews off with a little bit of a softball. What was your first job in the movie TV industry?
In the movie TV industry, my first job was a short film I did uh, called, ooh, forgot. I'm sure it's on my IMDb somewhere. Um, but it was really fun. It was a short film by Melanie Arwood. I remember so many things about it. I tend to remember all these other things except for the title. But yeah, that was my first thing. It was really fun. I remember it well.
You play you play Anne in the upcoming film. I'm Charlie Walker. What attracted you to this role?
Yeah, I feel like, as soon as I read the script and sides, I really understood where she was coming from. I really understood just her motivations and who she was as a person. And I think that's kind of what attracted me to the role or any role is like that feeling of like, oh, I resonate with this. I feel like I have an organic interpretation of who this is. And so that's really what spoke to me.
Prior to working on this project, were you aware of Charlie Walker at all?
Yeah, I wasn't at all. I didn't know anything about him or this story, and I think that kind of speaks to the importance of the story and this film, and so many stories out there of folks who broke barriers, whose names we don't know, and who all unfortunately don't get a film made about them. But we should all like honor them in some way.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I found fascinating about it is kind of watching a film sometimes of biographic details. It's like you watch them and then you find out so much different things about what he did in this time frame, which is incredible, right? It's beautiful to watch unfold. And he was like that entrepreneur before entrepreneurs really were a thing, right?
Yeah, he really was. He really was, and he was figuring out so much, on the fly, but also it just speaks to the level of knowledge that he already had, that he knew, and the fact that if you give someone a chance, if you give someone the opportunity, it's a lot easier than when they have to take it. Unfortunately, he had to take it, but he was still equipped to do so, and was able to just do a wonderful thing for the community.
When you are playing a role of somebody that is real, you're playing a real real person.
Yeah.
How did you go about approaching the role here? Did you lean on any of the information given to you? Were you trying to give something of your own performance within the same character?
Yeah, I think it was largely like just giving my own performance and my own interpretation. I think because of time, especially with independent film, you don't always have the time to kind of do the research that you might have done if you had more time. But also, I feel like from what I read and just what I felt from the script, I felt like I understood. I really connected to her, and I connected to this story in a big way. And so it wasn't too far off the mark for me, and it was really just fun to be able to do and to bring it to life.
You work across Michael, who plays Charlie Walker. What was it like working with him?
Oh, it was absolutely wonderful. We hit it off right away. Which is especially great in a short process, to know that, you and the person that you're going to be working with largely are, simpatico. And so it was a lot of fun. It was just great um, to meet him and to work with him. And, it was just a lot of fun, a lot of jokes, just a lot of fun.
Yeah, one of the things I think I found fascinating about independent films is kind of that short time window versus the long time window, the budgetary constraints. But I think one of the things I do love is you can tell that there's a lot of passion behind this film from you guys, the actors, behind the scenes, the directions and stuff like that. Is that kind of not to say that you don't give your passion
Yeah.
project to the bigger films, but you get what I'm saying, right? So does it makes it feel more intimate, right?
Yeah, there's definitely an intimacy there. And there's definitely just a commitment to the work. I think that's what any great actor or actors try to do is that the work takes precedence, and they know the story that they're trying to tell and the interpretation that they're trying to give, and they really honor that, and so I think what was so important and just such a pleasure to do was to be able to do that in this film, and to tell this really important story.
My last question to you is I like to always ask this question. Do you watch the films back? Do you watch yourself, or
Mm,
is it something that you kind of like you don't do?
That's a great question. I that is hard for me. Still kind of don't know how I feel about that. I think that you know, you kind of have to in some respects because you need to like put together your reel or whatever it is. But but it's very difficult. I find it hard to do it with a compassionate eye. I just, I just, so it's something that I try to avoid at all costs. Try to do it once, once is enough, So I've seen it. It's like, okay, great. I know what that was. I don't have to revisit it.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I like editing these interviews, or it's like for me, like with podcasts or interviews and stuff like that. For me, it's like I I automatically want to just like skip my voice and go right to the person that interview. It's
Right,
kind of it's
right.
cringy, right?
It's
In
totally
my
cringy.
opinion, it's like super cringy. You know what I
It's
mean?
super cringy. I mean, I think, you just it's just like, oh, that's what I look like, that's what I sound like. Oh, it's so hard. And I can only imagine that, for big stars who've been doing this forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, it's like they've gotten just so used to it that it's less of a problem. But yeah, I do find it to be incredibly challenging.
Yeah, because you watch these, like you watch cans, for instance. You have all these people in the audience, and these people are sitting there, and it's like you go to premiere to premiere to premiere, and I'm sure, like, but cans, like you're watching it, and then people are leaving or not leaving or clapping or are clapping. Like that
Yeah,
to me is another layer of concern I think I would have, right?
absolutely. It's like that was supposed to be funny. They didn't laugh. Or
Right.
so I couldn't imagine. I generally try to watch things by myself. So I'm not usually watching them like I avoid the with people thing. I try to watch them, you know, by myself with my just popcorn and a soda and just kind of just like oh I can have all my reactions and I don't have
Right,
to
you could do one of these numbers, you know what I mean? Like, oh,
yeah
I'm on the screen,
yeah
it's my turn. Yeah.
yeah without being seen by everyone else. So yeah.
Actually, I have one more question. Playing in a role like this, what is something you learned about yourself playing in this role of Anne?
That's a great question. I think what I learned about myself, one of the big things I learned about myself in doing this part was how much of your own story, like I know as an actor, your own personal story and background is a part of the characters that you do just automatically. But this one really, in particular, because it reminded me so much of my mother and my father started an art gallery. Um, in the 80s, and my mother supported him and raised us. And I think one of the things I learned about myself was like through doing this I understood her more. I understood her choices more and her decisions and why she was who she was. And I think that was like a really big thing that I learned about myself through this process.